The night sky stretched endlessly above the quiet town of Elmswood, painted in shades of midnight blue and silver. Autumn had arrived softly, carrying the scent of pine and cool earth. Beneath that vast canopy of stars sat a little boy named Leo, his blanket wrapped tightly around his shoulders. He sat on the porch steps of his small wooden house, watching the heavens as if waiting for something only he could feel coming. Every night since his father had gone on a long trip for work, Leo watched the stars, hoping one might carry a message or a sign that he wasn't alone. That evening, something different stirred in the sky. A cluster of stars shimmered unusually bright, glowing with a pale, almost living light. Leo tilted his head, his breath catching in awe. One of the stars seemed to move, not like the others, not like a plane, but in a soft, drifting fall. It descended slowly, its glow growing warmer, golden, and almost heartbeat-like. The forest behind his house shimmered for a moment, and then, with a faint flash, the light vanished into the trees. Leo blinked. The world went quiet again, but the air now smelled faintly of something strange, not smoke, not rain, but something clean, electric, and alive. Curiosity tugged at him stronger than fear. Grabbing his small flashlight, Leo tiptoed across the damp grass toward the forest. The beams of light danced between tall pines and silver leaves that whispered softly in the wind. Each step brought him closer to where the glow had disappeared. Then he saw it, a faint shimmer between two trees, like stardust caught in a web. He pushed aside the branches, heart hammering. And there, lying in a hollow of moss, was a dog. Or at least, something shaped like one. The creature was small, glowing faintly as if made from the same light that had fallen from the sky. Its fur shimmered like soft starlight, silver with glints of pale blue. Its eyes opened slowly, reflecting galaxies, deep, endless, and kind. Leo froze, barely daring to breathe. The dog looked at him with calm intelligence, then wagged its tail once, a delicate movement that scattered tiny motes of light into the air. When Leo reached out, the creature pressed its head gently into his hand, warm, real, alive. Leo's fear melted into wonder. "You came from up there, didn't you?" he whispered, glancing at the stars above. The dog gave a soft, musical bark, a sound that didn't echo like normal but resonated, almost like a note of music blending into the night. For a moment, Leo felt a strange connection, as if he could sense the creature's emotions, kindness, comfort, and something deeper, a purpose. The boy wrapped the glowing dog in his blanket, smiled through tears he didn't understand, and whispered, "Let's go home, Star." Leo tiptoed back into the house, cradling the glowing dog in his arms. The light from Star's fur dimmed just enough to keep them hidden in the shadows. His mother, already asleep upstairs after another long day, didn't stir as he crept through the narrow hallway toward his room. He placed Star carefully on his bed, where the little creature curled up immediately, a faint hum of warmth filling the air. Leo sat beside him, whispering softly, "You're real. You're really real." Outside, the stars still twinkled, as though watching their reunion from above. That night, Leo couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, soft light rippled across his room, not bright enough to wake anyone, but enough to fill the space with a dreamy calm. His posters of planets and galaxies glowed faintly in response, and even the small crystal hanging by his window shimmered like moonlight in motion. Star's breathing was gentle and rhythmic, but occasionally, he would twitch his ears or open one glowing eye, as if listening to something far away. Leo reached out and rested his hand on Star's back. The warmth spread up his arm and into his chest, like the comforting memory of a hug he'd been missing for a long time. In the morning, the glow had faded. Star looked normal, just an ordinary silver-gray puppy with deep blue eyes. Leo smiled in relief, maybe no one would notice anything strange. When his mother knocked and peeked in, she paused. "Oh, you found a dog?" she asked, a note of surprise in her voice. "He was wandering near the woods," Leo said quickly, avoiding her gaze. She sighed but smiled, brushing her tired hair back. "He's adorable. You can keep him for now, but you're taking care of him, okay?" Leo nodded eagerly. He didn't know how to explain that the dog had fallen from the sky, and somehow, it felt like a secret meant only for them. Over the next few days, Star became part of the house, and Leo's life. They played in the backyard, explored the quiet trails near the forest, and every night, Star's faint glow would return. The light seemed to respond to Leo's feelings. When he laughed, it shimmered brighter; when he felt lonely, it pulsed softly beside him, as though wrapping him in comfort. Sometimes, when Leo whispered to him under the covers, he could swear Star understood. His ears would perk up, and once, Leo thought he even saw a flicker of stars swirl faintly in the dog's eyes, but something else was happening too. The sky above Elmswood had begun to change, subtly, but strangely. The stars were moving, almost rearranging themselves. Some nights, a faint humming filled the air, the same note that Leo had first heard when Star barked in the forest. And though Leo didn't know it yet, that gentle cosmic song meant that Star wasn't the only one who had come from beyond the sky. Days turned into a rhythm of quiet magic. Leo and Star became inseparable, running through golden fields, chasing falling leaves, and sharing every meal and bedtime story. But Leo began to notice little things that didn't quite make sense. Wherever Star ran, flowers bloomed even when the season had ended. Streetlights flickered softly as he passed. And sometimes, when Leo was sad or scared, the air around Star shimmered with a protective glow, wrapping them both in warmth. Leo wasn't afraid anymore of the dark, or of the empty chair at the dinner table where his father used to sit. He had Star now, and Star felt like light made real. One chilly evening, Leo and Star walked along the edge of the forest. The night was clear, and the stars above seemed brighter than ever, arranged in strange patterns that Leo didn't recognize. Star stopped suddenly, ears alert, his glowing eyes locked on the horizon. A faint hum filled the air again, soft but unmistakable. Leo froze. The trees swayed even though there was no wind, and for a moment, the stars above seemed to move. It was beautiful, but it filled Leo with an ache he didn't understand, like something was calling to Star, something far away. That night, Star wouldn't sleep. He sat by the window, staring at the sky. Leo watched from his bed, whispering, "Do you miss it? The place you came from?" Star turned his head slowly and met Leo's gaze. His eyes reflected whole galaxies, swirling blues and silvers, stars being born and dying all at once. Leo crawled closer, resting his forehead against Star's. In that moment, he saw flashes in his mind, images that weren't his. A vast field of light. Shapes that weren't human. The feeling of falling, not in fear, but in purpose. Star hadn't come here by accident. He had come for something, or someone. Over the next few days, Star began to act differently. He still played and wagged his tail, but sometimes he'd stop mid-run, tilt his head, and stare at the sky for minutes, as though hearing a voice beyond sound. Leo started sketching what he saw in his notebook: glowing trails, shifting constellations, strange patterns in the night. He didn't tell his mother. How could he? It would sound like a dream. But deep down, Leo felt it, something was changing. The same stars that had brought Star to him were stirring again. On the fourth night, Leo woke to find the entire room glowing faintly blue. Star stood by the window, fur rippling with starlight brighter than ever before. The humming sound had returned, louder, clearer, and heartbreakingly beautiful. Leo ran to him, afraid and awed. "What's happening?" he whispered. Star turned toward him, eyes shining with sadness and love. The dog pressed his nose to Leo's hand, and for the first time, Leo heard a voice, not out loud, but inside his mind. "Soon," it said gently, "you'll understand why I came." The following days were heavy with silence and wonder. Leo couldn't shake the voice he had heard in his mind. He tried to convince himself it was a dream, but the feeling of warmth and sadness in that single word, "soon," lingered in his heart like an echo that refused to fade. Star stayed close, gentler than ever, but his glow dimmed in the daylight and flared at night, especially when Leo looked up at the stars. The humming had grown stronger now, even the neighbors mentioned hearing a strange vibration in the air that no one could explain. One evening, when the sky turned the color of deep velvet and the moon was a thin silver thread, Leo took Star to their favorite place, the old meadow behind the forest. Fireflies flickered in the grass, and the air smelled of cool earth and rain. Leo sat cross-legged, his hands buried in Star's soft fur. "If you have to go," he whispered, voice trembling, "I want to know why you came here first." Star's ears perked up, and his fur shimmered faintly as the humming returned, stronger than ever. Suddenly, the ground around them lit with thin, glowing lines, forming a circle of light that pulsed gently beneath the stars. Then Leo saw them, shapes in the sky, faint but real. Streams of light drifting downward like ribbons, merging into a single point above the meadow. It was as if the universe itself was opening. Star stood at the center of the light, his form flickering between solid and ethereal. Leo felt tears burn in his eyes. "Don't leave me," he said softly, but then, a voice filled his mind again, clearer this time, layered with kindness and ancient strength. "I was sent to guide you. To remind you of what never fades: love, courage, light. You were never alone, Leo." Leo shook his head. "But I needed you. You can't just..." His words were cut off as Star stepped closer, pressing his glowing paw against Leo's chest. The warmth spread through him like sunlight, filling every corner of the ache he had carried since his father left. And suddenly, Leo understood. Star had come because the boy's heart had called to the stars, a wish whispered in loneliness, answered by something beyond time or distance. The dog had crossed the universe not as a pet, but as a companion of light, a guardian meant to heal what was broken. The light faded slowly, the humming softening into a heartbeat rhythm. Star sat beside Leo again, resting his head on the boy's knee, eyes full of infinite gentleness. Leo cried quietly, wrapping his arms around his friend. "Will you have to go back?" he whispered. Star blinked slowly, not in answer, but in comfort. And when Leo looked up again, the stars above had shifted once more. They were forming something new, a pattern, faint but recognizable. A shape of a dog, standing proudly among the constellations. Leo didn't understand everything, but one truth settled deep in his heart: Star wasn't fading, he was becoming part of something bigger. Something eternal. The night after the meadow filled with light, the world felt quieter, softer somehow, as if holding its breath. Leo woke to find Star lying beside him, still and peaceful. His glow had dimmed to a faint shimmer, pulsing gently like a sleeping heartbeat. Outside, the sky was unusually clear, filled with countless stars that seemed closer than ever before. Leo placed his hand over Star's fur and whispered, "It's okay. I understand now." The dog's ears twitched slightly, and though his eyes stayed closed, a ripple of warmth spread beneath Leo's hand. It wasn't a goodbye, it was a thank you. The following morning, Star was gone. There was no sign of struggle, no open door, no pawprints in the dew. Only a single, tiny patch of glowing dust remained on the blanket, like a handful of fallen starlight. Leo sat there for a long time, staring at the empty space where his friend had been. Tears came easily, but they didn't burn like before. They felt clean, like rain washing over something new. When his mother called him for breakfast, he wiped his face and whispered, "Thank you, Star, for finding me." Days passed, then weeks. The sky seemed different now, brighter, alive. Every night, Leo sat by his window and watched the constellations shift. He started noticing that same dog-shaped cluster of stars always appeared above the forest, shimmering faintly as though wagging its tail just for him. When Leo missed Star, he'd whisper his name, and a single star in that constellation would flicker in reply. It was their secret, a silent promise between boy and guardian. As the years went on, Leo grew. He became the kind of person who helped others feel safe in their darkest times, the way Star had helped him. Whenever he saw a lonely kid sitting by themselves, he'd smile and sit beside them. And sometimes, on clear nights, he'd walk into the meadow, lie on the grass, and look up at the sky. The stars always seemed to dance a little brighter above him, and for a heartbeat, he'd feel the warmth of a paw pressing against his hand again. One night, many years later, a young boy and his father stood outside under the same sky. "Look," the boy said, pointing upward, "that one looks like a dog." His father smiled softly, recognizing the constellation instantly. "Yes," he said, his voice full of warmth. "That star. And he's watching over us." The boy grinned, clutching his father's hand as a single shooting star streaked across the heavens, bright, silver, and familiar, because some friendships don't end when you say goodbye, they just move a little higher, into the stars.